Wow, there's really a lot of people up here today. Good morning. How are you all? Are you all feeling good? Nice to hear. You know what? I'm feeling absolutely splendid. I've been waiting for December for a really long time. I actually began listening to Christmas music in the middle of September. There's just something so magical and nice about Christmas. But that's not all, because today I'm turning 18 years old. So in fact, I'm really in a really good mood. I'm really happy. And let me tell you something about happiness. Because happiness is kind of like a burning candle. Imagine yourself a burning candle, a lit candle. Because I could use this burning candle to light up 1,000 other candles. And my original candle would feel no side effects. It would face no consequences. It would lose nothing. And I think there's a huge metaphorical resemblance between this burning candle and the concept of the human happiness. You can share your happiness with anyone, everyone, at any time, all the time. It is a gift that is unlimited. And I think that is truly what Christmas is about. Sure, Christmas may be about being glad, having a good time, but mostly Christmas is about sharing. So, when my English teacher asked me and the rest of my classmates to go home, sit down and write a true and proper Christmas story, then I knew immediately from the very beginning exactly what I was going to write about. So, without any further ado, please let me introduce you all to my story, which I've entitled Into the Snow. It was the night before Christmas, and everything was quiet and peaceful. The moonlight gently hit and touched the icy roads and the snowy hills, creating a surface of silver. Little Timmy looked out of his window and adored the gleam and glare of the winter landscape. He looked out in the garden and noticed that new snow had fallen. It was absolutely smooth and untouched, and a filled with excitement ran through him when he imagined himself in the morning creating the very first footprints in the snow. It felt as if that snow had fallen for him, and for him only. It was a gift, a pleasant surprise, and he promised himself that he wouldn't share that delightful experience with anyone else. He was the only one who would have that satisfaction of marking the snow with his feet. It was way beyond little Timmy's bedtime, but he wasn't tired at all, far from it. In fact, he had not felt this excited and awake for a long time. As he had done the many previous years before, Timmy tried to stay awake the night before Christmas, just so that he could get a tiny glimpse of Father Christmas. It wasn't because Timmy doubted the existence of this red-coated man, but instead it was because Timmy's biggest wish was to meet Father Christmas, or more specifically to ask him a question. However, he had always fallen asleep and thus never managed to fulfill his wish. But this year, he was prepared. He had been training, staying awake throughout autumn. And just as Timmy was wondering, an almost unnoticeable creaky noise appeared. At first, Timmy turned and said to the door, but then decided that he would probably just imagine the sound. He continued observing the wintry landscape. But then it was there again, that faint sound. He couldn't conclude if it was a door opening or a plank being tread on, but he knew that something was moving down there in the living room. Timmy swiftly jumped out of his bed, then slowly sneaked towards the door. He cautiously opened it and stepped outside of his room. Every step he took was with an extreme discretion and precision. The squeaky planks were like the landmines on a battlefield, and Timmy knew that if he just made the tiniest noise, then he would fail his mission. He moved across the wooden floor, and he neared the staircase. He held his breath as he gradually climbed down the stairs. He then noticed that the light in the living room had been turned on. His eyes opened up wide, and his jaw dropped to the ground. Timmy stood completely still. There he was, the well-known figure with the long white beard and the crimson-red clothing. For some reason, it felt as if Timmy knew this person, and he immediately walked up to him. The tall man in red seemed so calm and honest that Timmy had no fear for him at all. The man was wearing woolen socks, and he was in the middle of placing presents in the stockings. Some of the larger presents he placed under the decorated pine tree. As he was just about to place the last gift, he noticed Timmy's footsteps and slowly turned around. But before the man in red could say anything, he was greeted with a question from Timmy. Father Christmas, every year you travel around the world, giving presents to everyone. But I've got to know, who gives presents to you? The man was at first overwhelmed, but then began to chuckle. His laugh was deep and warm, and it felt as if Timmy had heard that voice 1,000 times before. Father Christmas crouched and smiled to Timmy. He then answered, "My dear child, the giving is a gift itself. For me to watch children smile with joy is the only present that I will never need." And in an instant, he smoothly disappeared up into the fireplace, and he was gone. Timmy didn't know if he had witnessed something supernatural, or if he was just simply tired, but somehow he felt complete and satisfied. He turned off the lights in the living room, went up the stairs, into his room, and went to bed. When he woke up again, it was Christmas morning. Finally, the day he'd been waiting for had arrived. He sprang out of bed and charged into his parents' bedroom to wake them up. He leaped onto the bed and started jumping on them like the annoying little bastard he was. The parents didn't feel like telling him off. After all, it was indeed Christmas. All three of them went down the stairs and entered the living room, where a huge pile of presents were lying. Usually, Timmy would run to his gifts and brutally rip off the wrapping paper, but not this time. Instead, he opened the back door to the garden and pointed out the newly fallen snow to his parents. Timmy said, "I'm going out to place my footprints in the snow. Would you care to join me?" "Yes, of course," said the father. "We'd love to," answered the mother. They then quickly put on the winter boots and jackets, and together they walked out into the snow.